remind you in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, finally, we are live on YouTube and on Swapcard platform. So I'm happy to introduce our next session, Impact and Sustainability track, co-hosted by Max Song and Carbon Base. So Max, your turn. Please go ahead. 1 hour is yours.
Thank you so much. And a big shout out to Digital Week Online for creating such engaging online formats. I'm very pleased to announce our panel today. We have a very diverse and very experienced bench of people sharing their expertise and insights in ESG investments, entrepreneurship, and technology in the APAC region. My name is Max. I am the founder of Carbon Base, a fintech company, targeting climate change solutions here in Hong Kong. And also I've served as a venture partner at a Hong Kong family office for the last few years doing investments. What we can do is just have each of our panelists introduce themselves for 30 seconds or less, and then we'll dive into our topics. So maybe we can have Desmond, Elvin, Cissy, Zhao, Shawn, Gino, Ada. Desmond, you're on mute.
Oops, sorry. Okay, I'll start first. Hi, everyone. My name is Desmond Marshall. My company is Hoosh Ventures and Hoosh International, but we also have a new area in terms of sustainability called sustainthefuture.net. And what we do is actually we are helping investors, VCPEs, and also commercial companies in terms of finding and matchmaking and also conducting due diligence for anything related to sustainability, whether it's a process, whether there are new innovations, and most likely there will be new ideas in terms of how it is in terms of investments and also implementation as well. So that's what we do at this point here.
Thank you. Elvin?
Hold on, I'm muted. Yes. Hi everyone, I'm Elvin. I'm currently a managing director at a VC fund, Series C to growth stage and IPO fund. I'm here because I'm really new to the impact and ESG thing, apart from doing it on a part-time basis for Nexus Global. So I'm part of Nexus Asia and explore a few theses over there. So I'm actually gonna really do my first impact deal in Q1 next year. So really looking forward to learn from everyone and to share a little bit more on, say, from a financial investor perspective and how to. I'm very passionate about how capital itself can be a tool to be used for good.
Thank you, Elvin. Cissy.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'm Cissy Ma. I'm actually from Brisbane, Australia. I'm currently the managing director of Grow and Sell Your Biz. We actually help businesses grow by getting them the right investors and partners. And most of our deals are impact related deals. And I'm also a founding activator for SheEO in Australia. I might talk about that later as well. It's all our investments are impact investments, 100% on impact investments. I'm also on the ESG Center of Excellence for CPA Australia, which has 160,000 members from all over the world. And we look at issues to do with ESG specifically as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zhao Colombano. I confess I am the imposter in this panel. I am entirely new to the world of fintech and investments. I have been for most of my career a bureaucrat. I am an economist by training, and I've had the great privilege to serve at the World Bank and in the last 10 years at the UN as the economic advisor to Ban Ki-moon. And I've been a sort of proverbial fly on the wall while the SDGs negotiation were taking place, and had a great chance to input into that process. I am now trying to put that experience to good practice, and that's why I'm here looking to learning and networking with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Shawn?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, wherever you guys are around the world. And my name is Shawn Dehpanah. I'm an Executive Vice President and Head of Corporate Innovation with Plug and Play. Plug and Play, it's the largest global innovation platform and the most active early stage VCs in Silicon Valley, in North America and around the world, third place. But we invest in over 200 early stage companies with the best disruptive and innovative ideas across 17 different areas of industries. We have 32 offices around the world, and I run the Asia Pacific innovation track for the company. We have offices across Asia focusing on areas of food and agriculture, from energy and sustainability. Now we are just launched an accelerator developing new technology addressing the plastic waste, which I will share more details about that in our conversation. And I'm super excited to be on a panel and share more detail about our investment strategy and our initiative across the different platforms.
Hi, my name is Gino.
Thank you, Shawn. So pleased to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Hi, my name is Gino. I'm from I teach at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. I run a master's in multimedia and entertainment technology program. I also run a workshop all around the world on entrepreneurship, innovation, and self-discovery. And so really reframing entrepreneurship and organizational culture, looking at things from the perspective of personal development. So I've been in digital entertainment for about 30 years, but the last 15 years, I do research in consciousness, in phenomenology and neurophysiology. And part of what I'm a father of 4 too, and part of what we've been looking at is how do we kind of reform education to inspire students not to do what to be told, but really look at what's motivating them to create and how help them envision and innovate towards the world that they'd like to see. And so we're kind of like a Y Combinator in a university, and we're looking at all aspects of change, both on the personal level and on an organizational level and on a societal level.
Hi, my name is Zhao. I'm the founding partner of Singularity Financial. I spent the first 10 years of my career in Silicon Valley working as a software consultant. And later I shifted to investment banking. And Singularity Financial is my own platforms, and it's Hong Kong based. It's mainly focused on ESG research advisory and data and service providers. So we support CSR strategies and ESG integration for both the corporation and the investors. Recently, we just partnered with Hong Kong Institution for International Finance to expand the fintech and ESG research and advisory in the local regions.
Fantastic. So as the listeners hopefully can see, we have a very wide spectrum of practitioners, investors, policymakers, educators. So I'll sort of dive into it. And the way we'll go is we'll try to have 2 or 3 people answer, one question at a time. That way we can have a diversity of perspective, compare and contrast, different ideas as well. To start us off with, I'd love to first invite Zhao to share a bit more as a context set of where we are, right? So, post-COVID, especially now with the looming climate crisis, I think we're really reaching a societal tipping point where people are starting to seriously reconsider the way that business and social responsibility should be incorporated into, the overall public good. And I know that in your experiences at UN, you also work extensively to understand how to bring businesses into that conversation. So can you share a bit of your experiences there? And then after that, I'd love to invite Gino and Cissy to share from your perspective, what is the young people and also the SME businesses thinking about when it comes to addressing this problem of sustainability, social, and governance in our age today? Joe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Max. With great pleasure. So I really second what you said. I think that we are at a momentous time on our quest to try and build a better, more sustainable world. I remember about 20 years ago when this long political process started, the one that resulted in the SDGs, sustainability was very much of still a niche market. It was something to feel good about what you were doing. It was something to sort of dress up a little bit and please your civil society and people that care about corporate governance. It's no longer like this. This is a real driver of the market. There's three main elements that I see as fundamental in this, and if, all three of them have been enshrined in the Sustainable Development Goals. First of all, this drive for sustainability is not anymore just something that the West is asking the developing world to do. This is for everyone to do, and we're all in the same boat, and we're all struggling with the same global challenges, climate change being the top one. The second point is that this is a legitimate agenda in the sense that it doesn't come top down from anyone. This is not the UN invention. This is something that all the member states of the United Nations, 193 countries, representative of these countries, have agreed this set of goals. And thirdly, it really speaks to the issue of complexity. Sustainability is a complex stuff. It's not something that we can do on the back of an envelope. And that's why I look forward to hearing from Gino on what he's doing on the education side, as it's a key component of that. All of this is coming a little bit at a forefront now with COVID. And on the one hand, this is going to set us back greatly because we've been stalling our economies for the better part of the year. And for the first time in 2 decades, we're seeing level of poverty is rising. But it can also be a great opportunity. It can be seen as a global reset, right? And so the commitment that we all need to make is to build back better. And we don't want to go back to the system as it was before the pandemic. Let's use this as the incentive to do more and better.
Thank you, Joe. Maybe Gino, you can go next.
Well, part of what we've been doing is really looking at things from a lifelong learning perspective. And I think part of COVID has allowed some of us to kind of sit back, spend more time with our families, reflect on life, and why are we doing what we're doing, and do we have to be doing what we're doing, and the way we were doing things before, does it still have to be that way? And it seems like without traveling, I haven't left Hong Kong in about 8 months or so, and I'm still fine, busy as ever. And so with this kind of rethink about things, one of the big things, given the state of the world today, is, again, looking at things from the perspective of personal development, is kind of looking at new models beyond kind of impact investment. I know a lot of this is kind of impact and sustainability, but I like to use this analogy. There are two stories I'd like to share very quickly. One is there's been this unspoken of covenant in the world today, where kind of your parents give you the planet, you inherit the planet from your parents, and you kind of take care of it for a while, and then you kind of give it to the next generation, ideally in better shape than when you got it. And that's been true for thousands of years, arguably until very recently. And so if you look at, it's hard to get, raw toro, wild toro, because it's all fished out. If you look at pollution, plastic in the oceans, et cetera, there are all of these problems. Now that's one situation. The other is especially appealing to people that are over 50 with that story, is the story of and I don't want to sound too cynical about this, but the story of salmon. And so salmon, I don't know if you know, they spawn, they go down the river, they swim the big ocean. And the reason why the salmon's flesh is pink is because of all of the shrimp that they eat in the ocean. But at some point, the salmon kind of turns around, swims with all of its effort against the river, jumps over all the waterfalls, avoids the bears. And when they get to the end, they spawn and then they die. And so I look at, especially a lot of us, I think we're kind of in this midlife range, and people that are kind of beyond midlife range that have done fairly well for themselves. Part of it is to kind of get them to think about, what are we doing? And given all of the problems of the world today, if we could only solve one problem, what would it be? And it's helping people go, that are like post 50 or so, go through that process and really reflect and think about that, especially if they have kids, and then figure out what is it they really want to do, where do they want to put their iron, and then team them up and introduce them to entrepreneurs and companies that are kind of working in that space. And so 1.0, you can think of investing to make a lot of money. 2.0 is kind of this impact, triple bottom line type stuff. And then the third is really, can we use this whole global transformation that we need in terms of these new systems and bring in and cross the bridges between the different generations to get everyone working together. And so part of that is a reframing, and a large part of my issue in the university is the challenge of what do you teach them, especially in today's fake news era and everything, but giving them kind of a perspective, and rather than telling them what they should be doing, just asking them questions and getting them to really start thinking about what is it they really would like to do.
Thank you so much, Gino. And I just want to say, and before Cissy says it, I think, that framing is really key for us, right? It's not only, hopefully this panel is not only about just purely the business piece. It's actually, from a life piece and a philosophy piece, how do we approach, the world, the work we do, and also the reason why we do it. So over to you, Cissy.
Thank you. Thanks, Max. And Gino, that's really true. And I actually read something earlier, an interview that I think Richard Branson did with Simon Sinek. And Richard actually asked Simon the question, if you had to solve one problem for after COVID, what would that problem be? And his answer, I don't know if you guys read it, his answer was the human connection. And that's so true. Like we are connecting online this way, but there's so many layers of human connection that could be sort of carried out when we do the face-to-face, a real physical connection. And I think we're all kind of yearning for that. But beyond that, that's part of the things. So earlier I mentioned that I'm actually one of the inaugural activators for CEO. And CEO is actually a global sort of VC that we're putting together, and it's been operating for 5-6 years now. We've got 5,000 activators. You can sort of say that as like limited partners or something for this particular thing. And we've got 30,000 community members. We've funded 68 ventures, so it's almost sort of quite micro, but the whole vision is that we will be supporting 100% women that is working on the world's to-do list, and that's 100% on SDGs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And so we're already in 5 regions, but we have 70 countries trying to reach out and requesting this model in their countries right now. And it's going to become a movement. Everywhere would want it. But it's really great that we've been having these weekly sessions with with activators every week since March, and that's really keeping us, the community, together. You don't feel like you're being away. And also we've got this thing about ask and give, so people actually help each other out. And this is like entirely in a different speech. So it's a very new approach that is not in the normal VC world venture, but it's also investing in all impact investments. We had someone this morning actually turn that when she started she was one of the ventures that we invested in. When she started 2 years ago, I think she was doing 1 million plastic bags recycling or something. And now she's doing 20 million in the space of a year or so, not even 2 years. So the impact that we're having on, with a small amount of money, we're actually doing much greater impacts to the world than, the small amount of money that actually, that we give. So, and I guess, Max, you also asked a question about SMEs. So in the SME field, because I help a lot of scale-ups develop, and some of them are, it's almost like a 2-speed economy for SMEs as well. Some of them are very focused on SDGs, like the ones that we're helping in the CEO world. But there are some others who are completely oblivious. They just don't want to hear anything about it because they are, they're trying to survive on a day-to-day basis. They're watching their cash every day, and they just see SDG or see impact as an additional thing that they have to worry about. And so as part of the CPA's Center of Excellence, we're actually trying to develop something that will help the SMEs, report on or deal with issues to do with impact for their business. So, all right, I'll shut up. I think I.
Thank you so much, Cissy, and we'll come back to you. I mean, this is I think the CEO model sounds really innovative, and I think one of the key ideas is the way that capital itself has to address the questions of investment and especially impact investments might have to change, right? The traditional model may not be the most appropriate way to actually incentivize and discover the entrepreneurs who are actually trying to drive these problems. So just to shift gears a little bit and continuing on this line, I'd love to invite Ada and Elvin to share just from a career perspective, having worked in finance, having worked in as an investor evaluating projects, how do you see the role of investors changing in this new era? And do you see it, from the allocators to all of to the recipients, their attitudes, their requirements changing as well? Yeah, Ada, over to you.
Oh, okay. So as we all know that the money does have an impact. Your investment decision will have consequences on the society. So oftentimes the impact investing means a different thing to different investors and also their personal belief. Today, we still see a big percentage of investors who think the sustainable agenda run against the shareholder interests. So, so they think that the impact investing shouldn't take center stage. That's still in the mind of lots of Asian investors. So if we take a look at the risk of those stranded assets associated with all business model, we can see the write-off for the asset value actually go depreciate very fast over the course of transition effort. So that's why it's very important we align our value, our investment interests with the UN SDG goals, because how and where we invest our money is very important. It helps us to make a better decision and better choice to put the money to work. On the other hand, ESG investing, there's a lot of conflicting definition about what's ESG investing versus impact investing. So ESG investing, on the other hand, we see that as more of a screening methods to filter out the company who has a certain financial material risk. But the investors still pursue the maximization of the financial return. That's why we see most of the investors who are motivated to do ESG investing, mainly for two reasons. One is increased AUM, and then secondly is for generating the alpha, or maybe the financing opportunity from the issuer's perspective. So that's why our platform, we have been working very hard to educate our investor base. We cover a lot of topics, promote a lot of topics like climate risk, shareholder activism, circular green economy, human capital, corporate governance, because we believe the responsible business and sustainable investing should be converging. And it's very important that those areas will make a big impact on the investor community.
Thank you so much, Ada. And I just highlight something you said, I think is very key, is that ESG has largely been seen and maybe is used in practice as a way to protect shareholder value against the risks of climate, social and governance blowbacks. And then impact investment, just to sort of clean the definition up a little bit, might actually be more of saying, okay, there is additional consideration of the result of the investment in addition to pure ROI. So Elvin, with your seat, at the VC, especially in Southeast Asia, do you see that, do you see this awareness of ESG percolating through? Where do you think the priorities are for the investments you're currently thinking through? And also, how do you sort of see your role as a young person right now at the seat of the table being able to redirect some of the money for public good causes?
Okay. Yeah, so I think Ada makes very good points. Thanks, Max. Thanks everyone for sharing. Learned a lot. So I think from my perspective, to the first question, I'd like to break it into two parts. So there's two things, right, in this world that kind of like in resource allocation of like organizing a movement. The first one is companies, and the other one, there's another stakeholder called investors. Of course, there are like your customers and everything, but those are like everything kind of like revolves around company entities or entities itself to mobilize resource to solve certain problems that the entire human civilization face. And environmental being one of the very, very big ones. Income inequality being another very, very big one. So I think of in terms of it as companies and investors. For mobilizing people, I think in Southeast, okay, I can only say about the Southeast Asian scene, right? Like, who are the most impactful startups right now in Southeast Asia that generates the most impact? I would say Gojek, Grab, right? So I break it down into a few of this mental model thing. It helps me to structure. So I think in mobilizing people, you can incentivize people with this ultimate asset, basically called happiness. So if people are happy, they will stay and do shit. If they're happy or not happy, they will leave. Right. So how do you incentivize happiness? And it breaks down into three other commodity. Two other commodities essentially: money and time. So or time spent on the mission. So if you feel happy spending time on the mission, you will stick with the company. So I'll say that people who actually do this have a GDP. Like I think people who naturally earn above 15,000 USD per annum. That's the GDP per capita thing. I think I like to science it into this dollar sense because I'm an investor. And people with GDP per capita of like below 5K USD simply do not have time. They do not have happiness if they do not even have money. And that's that. Like, they have to feed themselves. They have to think about the next paycheck. There's no way you can sell any mission to these people without feeding their mouths first. So, and I think the good case study that I want to bring out is that Gojek and Grab both make use of both asset classes, both kind of mobilize both parties. The Indonesians, the local Indonesians and the local Southeast Asians providing the service. So they improved people who are earning like say 1,000 GDP per capita and moved them into the 4,000 range, right, for the drivers. So they simply provided them more opportunities for job. And these Indonesians, local Indonesians, were after money, and there's no shame in that. I think, so I've been to Nexus Global for the past 3 years, and every single time I'm there, I think I do cause a lot of backlash from the community because I advocate not to fight capital. I advocate for make sure that, I mean, capital is something that you have to use first, like 3 billion, 4 billion people in the entire world, and that's like more than half the world population. They are not ready to be taught, to be put into this, to a training school, right? And say like, hey, look, impact is important, No, my food is important. My baby is important to feed. No, I don't care about impact. I want to live for the next day, not the next 10 years, because this doesn't apply to me, right? So I think Gojek and Grab used the money to maximize happiness for Indonesians and people who are living below 5K USD per capita. And Anthony and Nadim, they were from very, very well-to-do backgrounds, second generation, third generation, from very, very influential political family. Why would they take an underpaying paycheck and do that? So these people who went to HBS, who had the privilege to go to HBS, use their time because they then exchange time. They believe that spending on this mission maximize their happiness. So as long as I think optimizing around happiness and breaking into money and time, I think great movements, decacons can be created. And it doesn't matter whether it's a private limited or it's a limited or it's like it's a foundation. I think at the end of the day, lifting the rest of the 4 billion people out of poverty and like making sure the environment is making sure all these problems, like you have to mobilize people. There's no way that you can solve a problem with just one person alone. You have to mobilize the millions, right? In the millions. So I think if you are going to mobilize people in the millions, you have to pay very, very deep respect to the entire capital market. And okay, that's for companies, right? How they allocate resource. The other one is for investors. And how I think about it is there's a huge push, right? To licensing. I think a case study is that so I actually worked for before I started this fund. It's actually I worked for one of the largest Indonesian conglomerates. They were responsible for the yearly haze that one of the main culprits were responsible for the yearly haze that Singapore actually faces and complains about every time because they burn a lot of forests for paper, for basic commodities in Indonesia. And I think I wouldn't name names, but essentially what happened was that I think we spent about $100 million on impact and ESG angles, because we simply had, the government was like, hey, if you don't spend this money, I'm not gonna reward you with like a $2 billion license a year. So I think there's a huge push from the capital markets for where governments kind of like say, you need to spend amount of money in ESG funds. So there is from an LP perspective, there's this huge push. And yeah, I think that's working very well for funds to actually have an ESG impact component, right? Because you still need money to mobilize resource, like as mentioned previously. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elvin. And I think just to echo one thing you said, for the people who don't make enough money to put food on the table, like impact is not even at all a consideration, right? But for the companies that are able to create the value that changes the materiality of their lives, then they start being able to move into spheres where they can consider their individual, actions. But at the time, the actor here in question is really these companies. And so to finally have the last two panelists share, I'd love to have Shawn share from your experience engaging with huge companies, right, and helping them design innovation programs as well as environmental programs. What learnings, tribulations, and wisdom have you gained from that experience? And then afterwards, Desmond, as well as an entrepreneur, as an operator, as someone who has practiced the sort of the mission. What lessons do you have of actually putting boots on the ground to actually create the change you want to see? Shawn, over to you.
Thank you, Max. And it's great, and it's very insightful to hear everybody's perspective on the panel on what they see as really a sustainability model. I worked for a corporation for over 30 years, and the mission for every corporation has been always about profitability and make sure that basically growth, the market shares, and it was without any respect about how they are going about doing that. And what has shifted in a complete ways in the past few years is that mindset. I agree with everyone saying that right now, sustainability entails environmental sustainability. How do you basically make sure that the rate of renewable resources, harvest, pollution, creations, and non-renewable resources depletion is being considered? Economical sustainability, obviously the ability to support and define the economic productions indefinitely. The social sustainability, the ability to ability of social systems in the countries to function of defined level of social well-being. These are all the mainstreams. And of course, consumers are now making decision with their wallet about how they want to invest in products and services in the companies who are basically in the forefront of those areas and making an impact. For example, 60% of millennials look to companies to solve the social and environmental problem. Basically, rather than just having to make products without considerations. The Americans say that companies' environmental reputation impact their purchases all the time now, and also corporate social responsibility activities that positively impact their purchasing. So these areas are all moving forward with the companies of designing from circular economy, the products and services, to basically the distribution and supply chain areas as well. Obviously the climate change, if basically any executive doesn't have that in their mindset, they're not going to last very long in corporations because that is in the forefront of everybody's mind. The Gen Zs and millennials continue to push for purpose of meaning in work and life. So these kind of changes and shifts in the consumer behavior impacts the product developments from corporate sides. We've been looking at corporate innovation for a long time at Plug and Play. The things that really impacts companies from longevity to have a line of sight into innovations 2 to 3 years down the road. Now, sustainability and plastic waste in the ocean was basically one of the most important parts. Last year, we launched the accelerator programs to really solve this plastic waste in the ocean. And This program is basically the alliance of 28 largest chemical and industrial companies who are distributing, making these plastics all the time. And they align themselves to really solve the problem, look at the best innovations, best companies that can, tackle this problem to reduce the plastic, find the substitute products. So the corporations coming together now, making a conscious decisions, we need to it's not a one person or one company or a government responsibility, it's everybody's responsibilities. So we bring together all the stakeholders together in the platform of ours to talk about these innovations and how do they make a decisions of basically solving these ongoing issues. And sustainability is one of the mainstream products, which is I would call horizontal rather than vertical, which we deal with 17 different industries, but this is everybody's embedded technology, from mobility, from energy side of things, from food and agri-tech. We look at sustainability across all of these industries right now. I hope that answers the questions somewhat.
Thank you so much, Shawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last but not least, Mr. Desmond.
Okay. I want to thank everyone because all of you are actually in the field of sustainability in a way. And as we all know, it's a really uphill battle. Especially even during COVID times, people still don't believe in sustainability in a way. Of course, it serves a little bit of a push, a big push, since everyone's dying. So everyone's looking more into, okay, am I eating correctly? Am I breathing correctly in this way? So the thing is, but it's the same thing for what we've just mentioned, or everyone's just mentioned in terms of the commercial world. Well, the commercial world doesn't really care about that. So whenever I go up to a client or commercial client or to an investor, the investors are actually better right now because they're seeing that there are actual bigger returns coming in. So I normally use the example is like during 2019, the investors were just allocating 5% of the portfolio to anything green or sustainability related. Now 20%. What does that mean? That means that it's got actual revenue coming in. It's got a positive return coming in. That's the reason why they're not considering this as a charity, but more of a revenue generating, a longer term thing coming along here. Of course, COVID put a bump in everyone's plan around here. But what we're seeing right now at this point around here, we're investors as well in a way. We're seeing all these investors, all the fund houses, the PE, VCs, they're coming over and say, hey, Desmond, we need to find new projects coming along here. Do you have any impact projects? Do you have any green projects coming along here? So they're focusing more on those. Why? Because all the traditional businesses are dying. So the only thing that's moving along is pretty much like anything that has a sustainability spin onto it. So that's one of the good things, and that's probably one of the quickest things that's going along here, because in the financial world, it's always the quickest in terms of reacting to the market. So we're seeing this moving in the right direction. People or investors, PE, VC firms are actually looking at this, and we're helping them out in terms of sourcing a lot more. And interestingly enough, they are actually looking more into China as well in terms of innovations, in terms of sustainability related innovations. Why? It's very simple. You invest in a company, you want that company to have business. So what markets are still open right now? China, no one else. So if you want to invest in a alternative protein company, well, of course, you want people to go out to restaurants and eat and not stuck at home and being in lockdown. So the only market that's moving right now is China. So if you have something in China that's green, that's related to sustainability, then, well, it's a good thing, because they are looking into these things anyway. And of course, people don't just look into China, they look into Asia Pacific as well. Over to the other side, so on the commercial world. So we deal with a lot of commercial clients as well in terms of helping them in their business challenge. But normally I put a spin on the sustainability to them as well, because if I'm talking sustainability it's fine if I talk to the division owners or the heads on sustainability, but I'm an investor. I've been in the business field for a long time. We've done this for a long time. We talk to the chairmans, we talk to the CEOs, we talk to the people that care about the business. And if you go in and say, hey, I've got a good sustainability project, you will immediately get kicked out. because it's just charity. It's nothing. It's got nothing to do with revenue. So what I go in is actually I say, hey, you're losing business, you're losing customers around here. Do you need new customers? Okay, that's great, because that's always a guarantee yes. So how do you attract new customers? Right, you attract the younger customers, not your old customers, because your old customers are not paying or they're dying anyway. So you need to attract newer customers, the millennials, the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, the young family, the nuclear family around here. Do you want to, you can have a hamburger that's packed in cancer-laden packaging, or you have a $50 burger, $60 burger, that's a little bit more safer. If you have kids, which one will you choose? It's very simple, because I would pay more for my kid because they will be the ones surviving. If I'm alone, of course, if I'm an old guy, then of course we don't care about that anymore. So we just look into the pricing. So the thing is, if you're trying to do this, especially with COVID, we're seeing a lot more change in terms of consumer behaviors right now. And also for the commercial world, it's not just attracting these people, it's also avoiding PR crisis as well. So there's McDonald's. A few weeks ago, they've been called out by the press and say, hey, your packaging, it's got cancer chemicals in it. So it's not good for as a PR crisis as well. So in a way, and especially right now these days when everyone is looking into, hey, picking up dirt and digging up dirt on a company and say, hey, I don't like your company for whatever reasons. I'm gonna dig up dirt and I'm gonna be a hater. I'm gonna write something bad about your thing on social media, and you can't do nothing about it because hey, we're reacting with the consumer crowd. So all of this is actually detrimental to a company that has to react to something like this. And it has happened a lot of times as well. So the thing is, whenever I go to a commercial company, I say, hey, yes, we're trying to say sustainability. If you don't have that angle, it's just a matter of time that you're gonna lose, or you just gotta whittle out as well. So but of course, we also have to look into what we call creating a share value in terms of this as a sustainability to be able to complement or actually help in the business divisions, the business objectives as well. So at the end of the day, yes, I'm trying to gain more revenue. I'm trying to gain more customers coming in. I'm trying to reduce the expenses. So yeah, we can have a lot of things. We can have an e-commerce website. You can do anything around there, change suppliers, but can we also add in an angle in terms of sustainability as well? So that's normally what I try to do with some of the innovations, some of the new processes coming along here. Very simple things like, hey, if you're a operator for supermarkets.
Desmond, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Not to cut you off, but just to sake of time, maybe if you have like maybe 2 concluding thoughts. Yeah.
I think the concluding thought is for the commercial side, I think, and also for the investors, anyone can be a little bit more sustainable. And for the commercial side, I think that we have to be aware that even if we're not investing, we have to be aware of, hey, new PR crisis coming down along here, and also be protective in terms of how they want to keep their brands.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Desmond. And I just to echo your point here, I think the social media power has asymmetrically shifted power back into the public domain, because any company, even though they're very big, if there's one negative impression, it gets rapidly spread out on social media, and then they have to do a lot of very expensive, trying to retain the image and communication. So I want to come back, and we're at about 13 minutes left of the panel. So what I want to do is I want to go, back to the start, have Zhao, have Cissy, and Gino, kind of start us on the next cycle. And what I'd like to ask you is your thoughts in, a compressed time, and I know that some answers have been longer and shorter, about the fundamental synergy, harmony, or conflict between the pursuit of profit as a commercial endeavor and the sustainability of life on the planet. And I think that that's a very dramatic contrast. But I would also say that for a long time, we've been living in the paradigm of Adam Smith, which says that the more profit the companies make, they all self-correct until they reach equilibrium. And today we're seeing the dire consequences of this runaway, capitalism unchecked by the external world. And one of the key reasons is because environmental costs have not factored at all on balance sheets. And so the cost of dumping chemicals into the ocean or plastics into waste material have largely been invisible to the calculus of the economic engine. So do you think that this, like, are there hopes of redemption here? Or do we need to rethink business? Or do you think that we need to have strong government policies in place to help correct business, to put us back on a path where humans can still live on a planet in the next few hundred years? Joe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Max. That's a very exciting way to encapsulate much of the debate that we've had this afternoon. I am an economist, and so I'm an optimist on top. So I'm very much in agreement with the traditional economic theory. At the same time, I'm also very much a realist, and I realize that there isn't such a thing as perfect information. There isn't such a thing as perfect competition. And therefore, it's very difficult to really achieve that invisible hand that makes everyone better off by maximizing their own self-interest. So the quintessential problem you put together, and what we're talking about early on, ESG versus impact, it is, to me, very reminiscent of a long-standing issue in international negotiations on development, on climate change, which is, does the developing world have a right to ignore sustainability and pollution and environment because the West, the industrialized world, has done so 200 years ago when they had their industrial revolution? And very much the answer to the question is no. And that's what I also want to highlight on Elvin, very interesting comment about Indonesia and about whether or not people are interested in impact or in profit. But I think that that should not deter us from understanding that every paradigm shift, like the one that we're trying to achieve, requires a transition. We cannot expect that this will happen for everyone all of a sudden. So the climate change negotiation came out with this very awkward acronym of CBDR, Common but Differentiated Responsibilities. We all face the same responsibilities. We know the direction we have to go, but each one of us will be prepared to go depending on its starting point. So to me, this is what is key. We need to know what the direction is. We're moving on a continuum. We should not be deterred by the discrete intervals that may be sort of hiccups along the road. It can be a little bit of an optimistic view, and I know that the real people out there in the real world, like yourselves, will have plenty of examples where this is difficult, including what Desmond was just saying about pushing out for sustainability. But if we keep talking and looking at sustainability as a compliance matter, we're not going to achieve what the SDGs set themselves to achieve. We need to look at this as a P&L issue. This is going to be our driver of profitability going forward, not sort of simply to protect our reputation, protect our stranded assets. This is the direction that we have to take. It's going to take a long time. We won't be able to go there all at the same time and all together. Will be bumps along the way. But the transition phase, the compliance phase, is just an incentive to move us onto this higher curve.
Thank you so much, Joe. 1 minute each for everyone. We have 1 minute each. So Gino, you're next. Or I think Gino might have dropped. Maybe Cissy, go next.
Yeah, I agree. I think we each of us have the responsibility. In the big corporation side, there is corporate governance, and you need to report on those things. But if we just wait on for those companies to do what needs to be done, then it's not going to actually change the world. From real experience, I have actually worked on top 50 companies and sustainability report, etc. It's a huge complex issue that people are working on it, and it's not really it's not really reflecting the real reality. It's a GRI. It's all the reporting that sort of looks good and it's great, but what is the core of the issue? It's hard to really, it's complex. It's hard to actually simplify it. But for me, I think ultimately everyone has a responsibility to, to look at, people, planet, and purpose. Look at what you do yourself and see if what you do actually contributes to all of those things. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing it in a large corporate or whether you're doing it in a small, one-person business. I think that's my concluding remark. Thanks.
Thank you, Cissy. Perfect on time. And then we can continue. Gino's trying to make his way back. So maybe we have Ada, Elvin. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I really agree with Cissy. I just want to add on or comment on what she just said. I think today's industry practitioners have emphasized too much on standard, like common standard, reporting guidelines, and scoring systems. And I think in order for us to make more informed decisions, we need to stay dynamic. We need to look at all the asset classes differences or sector-specific risk or country issues or regional growth gap, like just Elvin was mentioning about Indonesia. So we cannot use like a whole bunch of cookie cutter to make a beautiful cake. I think what we need to focus on is what the future fit business will look like. And for that question, I think everyone has to think out of the box. It's a paradigm shift, like we said. It's a paradigm shift for our financial and corporation to change their business model for the future. I mean, the company who align the business model for this transition will be rewarded handsomely down the road. For the one who fail to do so will cease to exist. That's my conclusion.
Thank you. Elvin.
I'm a technologist and I'm an optimistic technologist. So I think accelerating technology is the solution itself. I believe like once 5G is prevalent everywhere, and even if like to the extent of like 6G, right, which some countries are already like working on it, there will be like information symmetry instead of information asymmetry, and a lot of things will actually get priced in because it gets discovered. So things like carbon credit, the market size will grow like I guess like 10 times or 100 times, right? Everything will be priced in, and the market will actually go to work. So Adam Smith's belief actually can happen if we are all datafied, or for the better or for the worse. And I think, yeah, going back to the same point, right? It is hard to fight greed, which is part of nature, part of human nature. I think unless everyone becomes Buddha, greed is there, right? In 99% of us. So I forgot where I read this quote, or I guess I kind of made it up, but it is next. I think it is next to impossible to try to change a part of nature just to fix another part of nature. So I think we have to work with whatever resources and whatever physical laws that we are given by existing on this earth. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elvin. Yeah. Shawn and then Desmond, and I'll try to get Gino back for our last closing work.
Okay, great. Let me just really simplify things that, this colossal task for many of these corporations and, many of these new innovative companies to really tackle the sustainability model, which at every angle of the way is challenging to execute. It really relies on fast tracking these innovations. And I'm just like with Elvin, I think the solution is only technology. Where I see moving forward, this sustainability model can get a hold of its real results. At the end of the day, if the companies and corporations don't have the visibility to, because their own R&D is very focused on the things that can create value within. I mean, they don't have the best track, obviously, history, these companies, industrial companies, to come up with and reinventing things entirely from the into the new business model. So they need help from external resources, companies, and connecting them with the innovation tracks. And I've seen that a solution coming out of a platform like, what we are trying to do is to really identify, filter, and focus those areas that is really going to fast track the innovations within these organizations and also putting everybody as the best practices, share the roadmap of these ideas together, you're not going to find an execution faster and deliverable. So we are hoping that we're really the platform of these companies talking to each other, government entities talking, the VCs talking, of where the money should be spent and encouraged for these new innovations to fast track this strategy. And the consumer at the end should be the beneficiaries to all of that. That's my closing remark.
Thank you for your eloquence, Shawn. It's awesome.
You.
And
Thank you.
Desmond, 1 minute, and then Gino, you have the honor of closing up our panel.
Okay. For my side, let's talk to individual audiences around here. If you are an investor, definitely think about sustainability or sustainability related kind of projects. There are tons of innovation companies that's moving along here, and they're probably the only ones that are moving. And also, if you're talking about like whether they are actually having businesses or not, well, compare that with traditional businesses. I think you have a better return with that. So if you are a commercial company, a chairman or a CEO, well, my suggestion is you definitely will need to have a sustainability angle on it, because if you hide it, if you don't bring it out together, you're going to lose all your, well, current old customers. They're dying anyway. So the younger audiences won't be coming back, won't be even coming, because just check your kid and your sons or your daughters. They are checking all the companies before they're actually buying. And so if you are also a practitioner in terms of CSR, ESG, or sustainability related, do not go up to your chairman and say, hey, we got a sustainability kind of related kind of thing, because they will just kick you out and say, this is a charity thing. Always talk to them in terms of business. So always think in terms of business, how you actually gain more revenue, gain more clients around here by using sustainability, and also reducing expenses. And at the same time, keep the planet, keep the people better.
Thank you so much.
So for me, just back on, thank you. The whole money, I give a short talk on this. If you look at the origins of money, it was really about, I'm living my purpose and my passion, you're living your purpose and your passion. And money is kind of like an interchange for us to work together and to do things and to keep track of things. But the main thing is it's an interchange format and the main thing about it is me living my purpose and my mission, and you living your purpose and your mission. But what's happened, I guess, in the modern world is it's about the money now. It's not really about my purpose, me living my purpose and you living your purpose. It's, well, if you don't pay me, I'm not going to do it. You know, it's kind of putting the cart before the horse in that way. And so part of the systemic thing is in terms of peace and harmony and sustainability, it starts with the individual. One of the things that we've done at Davos during the World Economic Forum the last 2 years is we had an 800 square foot space and 8 square meter space. And we brought a bunch of healers there. And the premise, you know, although it was kind of crazy, it was world peace comes from inner peace. And can we kind of work on ourselves and really, you know, get us healed personally within ourselves, within our physiology, and within our psyche. And then once we're in balance and in harmony, the idea is that what you create and the things that come from that consciousness will be in that way. And just like kind of an Eastern approach towards medicine versus a Western approach, where you're looking at, oh, this is a problem, let's ventilate and let's heal it. Part of it, what we'd like to look at is you know, why are the symptoms in society the way they are today, you know, for us to be running amok environmentally and everything. And what is it about, and how did we get here in relation to the use of media, the stories that drive our minds, that trigger kind of the emotions, specifically kind of desires that create this hyper growth.
Yeah, I just thank you so much, Gino. And we do have to end the session because there's another one after this. But I just want to say, one, you know, this panel has been, a highlight of my week, and I think a highlight of many people watching, to have such a rich and diverse group of people speak so eloquently and passionately about this issue. I would love to invite anyone watching to find ways to contact all the speakers here, and thank again, the speakers and organizers for creating this opportunity for us to share and learn from each other and talk through this. The future relies on us. There's only a small group of people whose actions, a small group of people whose actions, are concerted, can actually have the world change that we need. From consciousness elevation through Gino's work, at the epicenters of these business conversations, to the investor base, to the people who run these companies, to people who sort of design these policies. And thank you again for our amazing esteemed panelists.
Yeah, thank you, Max.
Hope to continue
thank you, everybody. Yeah,
thank you so much.
Great panel.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.